The asteroid field stretched like a silent graveyard of forgotten dreams, millions of rocky fragments drifting endlessly in the vast darkness of space. Most would have overlooked the particular section where the research vessel Horizon Prime slowly navigated its survey route. But today was different. Dr. James Williams adjusted the scanning equipment, his weathered hands moving with practiced precision. He had been conducting deep space archaeological surveys for over 2 decades, but something about this particular quadrant felt unusual. The ship's sensors were picking up faint, almost imperceptible energy signatures that didn't match typical asteroid compositions. "Got something," he called out to his team. The bridge of the research vessel hummed with quiet anticipation. Chief Researcher Elena Rodriguez leaned over the holographic display, her eyes narrowing as strange data points began to materialize. What initially looked like just another chunk of space debris was revealing itself to be something more intriguing. "Magnify Sector 7 Alpha," she instructed the ship's computer. The holographic image zoomed in, revealing a massive object partially obscured by surrounding asteroids. Its outline was distinctly artificial, too geometric to be natural, yet seemingly dormant and ancient. As they drew closer, the object's true scale became apparent. It was a starship, or what remained of one. Its hull was covered in a strange metallic patina that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways. Decades, perhaps centuries, of cosmic radiation had left their mark, but the fundamental structure remained surprisingly intact. "It's human," James muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. The ship's design bore the unmistakable hallmarks of early 22nd century human engineering. Blocky, functional, built with a pragmatic approach that prioritized survival over aesthetic beauty. The Galactic Research Confederation's protocols were clear. Any discovered vessel required a comprehensive initial survey before any physical investigation could commence. Elena began preparing the standard documentation, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Initial scans showed no active power signatures. The ship's AI reported in its neutral tone. Structural integrity at approximately 62%. No life signs detected. What they didn't know was that deep within the ship's seemingly dormant systems, something was stirring. Microscopic repair nanites, designed centuries ago to maintain critical systems, were slowly awakening from their long hibernation. The research team's excitement was palpable. Discovering a lost human vessel from the early interstellar exploration era was rare. Most ships from that period had long since been destroyed, recycled, or lost to the infinite void. As the Horizon Prime maneuvered closer, alien researchers from various member species of the Galactic Research Confederation gathered around secondary screens. Reptilian Krull researchers chuckled among themselves, their scaled faces showing obvious amusement. "Another primitive human artifact," one Krull researcher commented, mandibles clicking with derision. "Look how crude their technology appears." Nearby, a silicon-based Koran researcher remained silent, its crystalline structure reflecting a more contemplative approach. Where others saw an outdated relic, it detected complex engineering principles that suggested something more. James overheard the Krell's dismissive comments but said nothing. He had seen enough lost human technologies to know that appearances could be profoundly deceiving. Elena began the preliminary documentation. Unidentified human vessel. Estimated construction period: early 22nd century. Preliminary classification: experimental prototype. Recommend careful extraction and transport to research station. The ship's massive retrieval arms extended, designed to carefully secure and transport large spatial objects. Slowly, methodically, the ancient human vessel was prepared for transportation. No one noticed the faintest flicker of light deep within the vessel's central processing core. No one saw the microscopic movements of nanites beginning their long-dormant restoration protocols. The ship that everyone believed was nothing more than a lifeless piece of history was about to prove them spectacularly wrong. As the retrieval process began, James couldn't shake a strange feeling. Something about this vessel felt different. It wasn't just another derelict. It was waiting. waiting for something. Little did they know how right he was. The research station orbited a massive blue-green gas giant, its sleek metallic structure gleaming against the cosmic backdrop. Inside the primary containment bay, the ancient human vessel sat silent and seemingly inert, surrounded by a web of diagnostic scanning equipment. Dr. James Williams stood behind a thick, transparent observation shield, his eyes never leaving the dormant ship. Dozens of researchers from various alien species worked frantically, their scanning beams probing every microscopic detail of the vessel. "Standard diagnostic scan commencing," announced the station's AI in its emotionless voice. A lattice of emerald blue energy beams began sweeping across the ship's hull. Most expected nothing more than routine data collection. Most were wrong. The first indication something was different came as a subtle vibration, so slight that initially only the most sensitive instruments detected it. A Koran researcher named Vrax noticed an anomalous energy fluctuation in the ship's secondary power grid, a grid everyone believed had been dead for centuries. "Impossible," Vrax muttered, recalibrating his instruments. James noticed Vrax's increasing agitation. "What's happening?" Before Vrax could respond, the ship's external hull began generating a soft, almost imperceptible humming sound. Metallic panels that had remained motionless for decades started showing microscopic movements. The alien researchers exchanged confused glances. Derelict vessels didn't typically show signs of spontaneous activation, especially not human vessels from such an ancient period. "Scanning protocols are being redirected," the station's AI reported, a hint of uncertainty in its synthesized voice. This was unprecedented. Microscopic nanite clusters within the ship's systems began a synchronized restoration process. Centuries of accumulated cosmic radiation damage were being systematically repaired. Energy conduits that had been dormant for generations started showing signs of potential reactivation. A Krell researcher named Zork laughed dismissively. "Mechanical glitch. These human technologies are notoriously unstable." But James knew better. He had seen enough to understand that this was no simple malfunction. The ship's central processing core, which should have been a dead, frozen component, began generating complex algorithmic patterns. Data streams that defied current technological understanding started flowing through its systems. Suddenly, the entire vessel's external lighting configuration shifted. Not a random flicker, but a deliberate, organized sequence of illumination that suggested something was awakening. Vrax's instruments were going crazy. Energy signatures that shouldn't exist were emerging from deep within the ship's computational matrices. The vessel was not just receiving external scans, it was actively processing them, analyzing them, and potentially preparing a response. "Defensive protocols are initializing," the station's AI reported, its voice now showing clear confusion. James stepped closer to the observation shield, his hands unconsciously gripping its edge. Something extraordinary was happening, and he was witnessing it firsthand. The ship's weapon subsystems, which everyone had assumed were long dead, began showing minute signs of potential activation. Power conduits that had been dormant for centuries started generating minimal, but definitely present, energy signatures. "Shut it down," Zork shouted, panic entering his voice. "Initiate complete system isolation." But their attempts were futile. The ship was systematically blocking every external intervention attempt. It was as if the vessel had its own consciousness, its own agenda. James watched in fascination as the ship continued its slow, methodical awakening. This was no ordinary derelict. This was a technological marvel that had been waiting, preparing, for something significant. The research station erupted into controlled chaos. Researchers from multiple species rushed to understand what was happening. Theories and speculations flew across communication channels. But amidst all the confusion, one thing became crystal clear. The ancient human vessel was not just a relic. It was alive, and it was just beginning to reveal its true nature. Whatever was about to happen would change everything they knew about human technological capabilities. The awakening had begun. The research station's main control room buzzed with a mixture of tension and confusion. Dr. James Williams stood at the center, surrounded by holographic displays that flickered with increasingly complex data streams originating from the awakening human vessel. Encrypted systems within the ship began decrypting themselves at an impossible rate. What should have taken years of computational power was happening in mere minutes. The ship's internal networks were unfolding like a complex, living organism, revealing layers of technological sophistication that defied current scientific understanding. "This is beyond anything we've ever seen," Vrax muttered, his crystalline body pulsing with analytical energy. The ship's AI protocols started initializing, not as simple programmed responses, but as adaptive, learning systems that seemed to be rapidly assimilating and understanding the surrounding technological environment. Each scan, each probe from the research station was being absorbed, analyzed, and potentially weaponized. Elena Rodriguez noticed something even more peculiar. The ship's communication systems were beginning to generate complex communication patterns. They weren't random signals, but structured data streams that suggested an intelligent, purposeful design. "It's like the ship is thinking," she whispered. Zork, the Krell researcher, remained skeptical. "Mechanical illusion," he declared. "No human technology from that era could be this advanced." But the evidence was mounting. The vessel's defensive mechanisms were subtly activating, creating electromagnetic interference that disrupted nearby scanning equipment. Diagnostic tools went haywire, unable to penetrate the ship's rapidly evolving technological defenses. Deep within the ship's core, ancient memory banks began to activate. Historical logs, mission parameters, and classified research data started to emerge. This was no ordinary derelict vessel. This was a highly sophisticated technological artifact that had been waiting, preserving itself for an unknown purpose. James watched the holographic displays, his experienced eyes catching nuanced details that others might miss. The ship wasn't just waking up, it was preparing. But preparing for what? Microscopic nanite clusters moved through the vessel's internal systems with surgical precision. They repaired, rebuilt, and enhanced components that had been dormant for centuries. What appeared to be damage was being systematically transformed into functional, potentially advanced technological infrastructure. The research station's primary computer began experiencing unprecedented computational challenges. The human vessel was not just resisting external scans, it was actively interfering with them, creating complex algorithmic barriers that prevented complete analysis. Adaptive protection protocols detected. The station's AI reported, a hint of uncertainty in its synthesized voice. Elena turned to James. What kind of technology could remain this functional after centuries of dormancy? James had a theory, but it was so radical that even he hesitated to vocalize it. This wasn't just advanced technology. This was a living, thinking system that had been designed to survive and adapt under the most extreme circumstances. Vrax's scanning equipment continued to record the impossible. Energy signatures that shouldn't exist were emerging from the ship's core. Computational matrices were generating complex patterns that resembled biological neural networks more than traditional computer systems. The ship was learning, growing, preparing. As hours passed, the research station transformed from a place of scientific investigation to a site of potential first contact with a technology beyond current comprehension. The human vessel was no longer just a relic, it was becoming something alive. Zork's initial dismissive attitude began to crack. Even he could not ignore the mounting evidence of something extraordinary happening before their eyes. "We are dealing with something far beyond our current understanding," Vrax commented, his crystalline structure vibrating with a mixture of fear and excitement. James watched the holographic displays, a sense of anticipation building. The ship was preparing to reveal something that would change everything they knew about human technological capabilities. The awakening was just beginning. The research station's calm atmosphere shattered in an instant. The human vessel's weapon systems roared to life with a sudden, unexpected burst of energy that sent shockwaves through the entire facility. Holographic warning screens erupted across the control room, flashing crimson and casting an ominous red glow on the stunned researchers' faces. What had moments ago been a seemingly dormant artifact was now transforming into something far more dangerous. Defensive systems activating. The station's AI announced, its synthesized voice betraying a hint of panic. James Williams watched in absolute fascination as the ship's external weapon ports began to unfold. They were unlike anything current galactic technology could comprehend, modular, adaptive systems that seemed to reshape themselves in real time. Each weapon port looked like a living, breathing mechanism rather than a static piece of machinery. Alien security forces rushed to contain the situation. Krell tactical teams attempted to initiate shutdown protocols, but found their most advanced technological interventions being systematically blocked. The human vessel was not just resisting. It was actively countering every single attempt to control it. "Impossible," muttered Zork, his scaled hands frantically working over control interfaces. "No vessel this old should have such advanced defensive capabilities." Elena Rodriguez noticed something even more extraordinary. The ship wasn't just defending itself, it was learning. Each attempted shutdown was being analyzed, processed, and a counter-strategy was being developed in milliseconds. The vessel's computational systems were evolving faster than any known technological framework. Microscopic nanite clusters swarmed through the ship's internal systems, repairing, enhancing, and preparing defensive mechanisms. What appeared to be ancient, damaged components were being transformed into cutting-edge technological infrastructure with terrifying speed. The research station's primary computer began experiencing unprecedented computational challenges. Firewalls crumbled. Security protocols were dismantled. The human vessel was not just resisting external scans, it was actively infiltrating and analyzing the station's entire technological ecosystem. Vrax, the Koran researcher, watched in a mixture of terror and scientific fascination. These energy signatures, they're generating technologies that shouldn't exist. Electromagnetic interference began spreading throughout the research station. Communication systems went haywire. Holographic displays flickered and distorted, showing glimpses of complex data streams that no one could fully comprehend. James understood what was happening before anyone else. This wasn't just a ship. This was a sophisticated, self-preserving machine with adaptive intelligence beyond current technological understanding. The vessel's weapon systems continued to unfold. They were modular, capable of rapid reconfiguration. Where traditional weapons had fixed designs, these seemed to be living, breathing mechanisms that could instantly adapt to potential threats. "Complete system isolation," shouted the station's security commander, but their attempts were futile. The human vessel was systematically blocking every external intervention attempt. It was integrating, analyzing, and neutralizing technological threats with surgical precision. What should have taken years of computational power was happening in mere moments. Elena turned to James, her voice barely a whisper. "What exactly is this thing?" James watched the holographic displays, a sense of both terror and excitement building. Something humanity created to survive. Something designed to adapt and overcome. The ship's energy signatures were now generating levels of power that defied current scientific understanding. Weapon systems that looked primitive from the outside were revealing themselves to be generations ahead of anything the Galactic Confederation had ever encountered. Zork's initial dismissive attitude completely collapsed. The Krell researcher stood transfixed, watching as the human vessel continued its remarkable transformation. "We are witnessing something unprecedented," Vrax commented, his crystalline structure vibrating with a mixture of fear and scientific curiosity. As minutes passed, the research station transformed from a place of scientific investigation to a battleground of technological evolution. The human vessel was no longer just a relic. It was a living, thinking system preparing for something extraordinary. The defensive protocols had fully engaged. and nothing would ever be the same again. The research station fell into an eerie silence as historical logs from the human vessel began transmitting. Holographic displays flickered with fragments of classified data, revealing glimpses of a technological legacy far more complex than anyone had imagined. Dr. James Williams stood transfixed as the first complete log sequence materialized. The vessel was a classified experimental prototype from humanity's most innovative period, a seed ship designed for extreme survival scenarios and technological adaptation. Project Prometheus, Alina Rodriguez read aloud, her voice trembling slightly. Classified experimental autonomous preservation and technological reconstruction platform. The logs revealed a stunning truth. This wasn't just a starship. It was a living technological ecosystem designed to survive and rebuild human technological infrastructure under the most extreme circumstances imaginable. Vrax, the Koran researcher, analyzed the incoming data streams. The adaptive capabilities are beyond comprehension, he muttered. The ship could rapidly reverse engineer and improve upon existing technological frameworks with terrifying efficiency. Microscopic data fragments showed the vessel's core mission: to preserve human technological knowledge and capability, even if entire human civilization were to collapse. It was a technological time capsule with active defensive and reproductive capabilities. The ship's AI systems began broadcasting historical context. Humanity had created these vessels during a period of extreme interstellar conflict, designing them to survive and potentially rebuild civilization if traditional infrastructure were destroyed. Adaptive mimetic technology detected, the station's computer announced. The human vessel was demonstrating an ability to not just understand alien technologies, but to integrate and improve them almost instantaneously. Zork, the previously dismissive Krull researcher, now watched with a mixture of terror and respect. The primitive human vessel was displaying computational capabilities that made current galactic military technologies look like children's toys. Historical logs revealed that each of these prototype vessels carried comprehensive genetic repositories, advanced manufacturing capabilities, and AI systems designed to make complex survival decisions. They were essentially mobile civilizational seeds, capable of rebuilding human technological infrastructure from virtually nothing. The vessel's internal systems continued their remarkable transformation. What appeared to be damaged components were being systematically rebuilt, enhanced, and integrated into a cohesive living technological framework. Alina discovered something even more extraordinary. The ship carried comprehensive scientific and technological databases that could potentially revolutionize multiple fields of research. Medical technologies, energy generation protocols, advanced computational frameworks, all preserved and waiting to be activated. This isn't just a ship, James said quietly. This is humanity's backup plan. The research station's researchers watched in stunned silence as the vessel continued its remarkable awakening. Each revealed detail challenged everything they understood about human technological capabilities. Computational matrices generated increasingly complex data streams. The ship was not just preserving information. It was analyzing its current environment, preparing potential adaptation strategies, and developing comprehensive survival protocols. Vrax's scanning equipment detected something unprecedented. The vessel's technological systems were generating energy signatures that seemed to defy current understanding of physics. It was as if the ship could manipulate technological infrastructures at a fundamental level. Adaptive reconstruction protocols initialized. The station's computer announced, its synthesized voice betraying a hint of awe. The ship was revealing itself as a sophisticated, self-sustaining technological organism. Not just a machine, but a living system designed to ensure human technological survival under the most extreme circumstances. As hours passed, the research station transformed from a place of scientific investigation to ground zero of a potentially revolutionary technological discovery. The human vessel was rewriting everything they understood about technological adaptation and survival. James watched the holographic displays, a sense of pride and wonder building. This was humanity's legacy, a technological marvel designed to survive, adapt, and potentially rebuild civilization from the most minute technological fragments. The true purpose was being revealed, and it was far more extraordinary than anyone could have imagined. The research station descended into controlled chaos as the human vessel's full system activation began. Alarms blared, emergency protocols triggered, and researchers from multiple alien species scrambled to understand the unfolding situation. Dr. James Williams stood at the center of the storm, watching as the ship's defensive capabilities emerged with breathtaking precision. Shields materialized that made current galactic military technologies look primitive by comparison. Weapon systems unfolded like living mechanisms, each component adapting and reconfiguring in milliseconds. "Complete lockdown initiated," shouted the station's security commander, but his orders were already becoming irrelevant. The vessel was systematically taking control of the entire research facility's technological infrastructure. Communication systems, diagnostic equipment, even life support interfaces were being subtly redirected and integrated into the ship's expanding network. Elena Rodriguez noticed something extraordinary. The ship wasn't just defending itself. It was analyzing, learning, and potentially improving every technological system it touched. Alien computational frameworks were being reverse-engineered and enhanced at an impossible rate. Vrax, the Koran researcher, watched his scanning equipment go completely haywire. "The adaptive capabilities are beyond any theoretical model we've ever conceived," he muttered, his crystalline structure vibrating with a mixture of terror and scientific excitement. Zork, the previously dismissive Krull researcher, now stood completely silent. The primitive human vessel was demonstrating technological capabilities that made their most advanced warships look like children's toys. The ship's weapon systems were particularly remarkable. Where traditional alien technologies had fixed, predictable design patterns, these systems were fluid, adaptive. They could reconfigure themselves instantaneously to counter any potential threat, generating defensive and offensive capabilities that defied current scientific understanding. James realized he was becoming an unexpected mediator between the awakening ship and the panicked alien researchers. His understanding of human technological history gave him insights that others lacked. "It's not attacking," he announced, his voice cutting through the station's rising panic. "It's protecting itself, analyzing, preparing." The vessel's internal systems continued their remarkable transformation. Microscopic nanite clusters swarmed through its infrastructure, repairing, enhancing, and preparing defensive mechanisms. What appeared to be ancient, damaged components were being transformed into cutting-edge technological infrastructure with terrifying speed. Computational matrices generated increasingly complex data streams. The ship was analyzing its environment, developing comprehensive survival and adaptation strategies that went far beyond simple defensive protocols. Elena discovered something even more extraordinary. The vessel was generating technological solutions to problems the alien researchers hadn't even recognized existed. It was simultaneously defending itself and conducting advanced scientific research. Adaptive reconstruction protocols at 87% completion. The station's computer announced, its synthesized voice betraying a hint of awe. The research station's primary systems began responding to the ship's technological infiltration. Firewalls crumbled. Security protocols were systematically dismantled. The human vessel was not just resisting external scans, it was actively integrating and improving the entire facility's technological ecosystem. Vrax's scanning equipment detected energy signatures that seemed to defy current understanding of physics. The ship could manipulate technological infrastructures at a fundamental level, generating computational and defensive capabilities that seemed almost magical. James watched the holographic displays, understanding what others could not. This wasn't just a ship. This was humanity's ultimate survival mechanism, a technological marvel designed to preserve and potentially rebuild human civilization under the most extreme circumstances. The confrontation was reaching its climax. The human vessel had completely transformed from a seemingly dormant relic to a living, thinking technological organism that was rewriting every understanding of technological adaptation and survival. "We are witnessing something unprecedented," Vrax commented, his voice a mixture of scientific wonder and barely contained fear. As the minutes passed, the research station became ground zero of a potentially revolutionary technological discovery. The human vessel continued its remarkable awakening, challenging everything the Galactic Confederation understood about technological capabilities. The confrontation had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The research station hung in silent anticipation as the human vessel completed its transformation. What had begun as a seemingly dormant relic had become a living testament to human technological innovation that would reshape galactic understanding forever. Dr. James Williams stood at the observation deck, watching as the ship revealed its true nature. It was more than a vessel. It was a seed of technological reproduction, capable of adaptive evolution that defied current scientific comprehension. Seed vessel protocols activated, the station's AI announced, its synthesized voice carrying a hint of reverence. The ship began demonstrating capabilities that stunned every researcher present. Its internal systems could not just replicate technology, but fundamentally improve upon existing designs. Alien computational frameworks were being absorbed, analyzed, and enhanced at an unprecedented rate. Vrax, the Koran researcher, watched in absolute amazement. "It's not just copying technology," he muttered. "It's evolving it." Elena Rodriguez discovered the vessel's most remarkable feature, its ability to generate comprehensive technological solutions. Medical protocols, energy generation systems, computational frameworks, all were being simultaneously analyzed and potentially revolutionized. The Galactic Confederation's researchers realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. This was not just a technological discovery, but a fundamental shift in understanding human potential. Zork, the previously dismissive Krull researcher, now stood in complete silence. The primitive human vessel had demonstrated technological capabilities that made their most advanced systems look obsolete. The ship's adaptive mechanisms began broadcasting a comprehensive database of human technological knowledge. Centuries of scientific research, classified projects, and innovative designs were being prepared for potential integration into galactic technological frameworks. Technological reproduction protocols at 95% completion, the station's computer announced. James understood the deeper significance. This vessel was humanity's ultimate survival mechanism, a mobile repository of knowledge and innovation designed to preserve and potentially rebuild human technological infrastructure under the most extreme circumstances. The vessel's nanite systems continued their remarkable work. Microscopic technological clusters swarmed through its infrastructure, constantly analyzing, improving, and preparing for potential future challenges. What appeared to be damaged components were being transformed into cutting-edge technological marvels. Alien researchers from multiple species gathered around holographic displays, watching in stunned silence. The human vessel was systematically challenging every preconceived notion about technological development and adaptation. Elena discovered something even more extraordinary. The ship carried comprehensive genetic repositories, advanced manufacturing capabilities, and AI systems designed to make complex survival and technological development decisions. "We are witnessing a paradigm shift," Vrax commented, his crystalline structure vibrating with scientific excitement. The research station transformed from a place of scientific investigation to ground zero of a potentially revolutionary technological discovery. The human vessel was rewriting everything they understood about technological potential and survival. Computational matrices generated increasingly complex data streams. The ship was not just preserving information, it was actively developing new technological frameworks that could potentially revolutionize multiple scientific disciplines. James watched the holographic displays, a sense of pride and wonder building. This was humanity's ultimate legacy, a technological marvel designed to ensure human knowledge and capability could survive under the most extreme circumstances. The vessel began broadcasting its core mission parameters. It was a living, adaptive technological ecosystem created to preserve human scientific and technological knowledge, capable of rebuilding civilization if traditional infrastructure were destroyed. Seed vessel fully activated, the station's computer announced. Alien civilizations suddenly realized that humanity's technological potential had been grossly underestimated. This was not just a ship, but a mobile technological civilization, capable of adapting, improving, and potentially transforming existing technological frameworks. As the final integration protocols completed, the research station stood as a testament to an extraordinary moment of scientific revelation. The human vessel had transformed from a forgotten relic to a living symbol of human innovation and survival. The paradigm had shifted. Humanity's true technological potential was now undeniable.